Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really going to shake things up. We're digging into some ideas that challenge a lot of the, standard advice you hear about building a presence online.
That's right. We're looking at a piece by Dr. Tanit Wonghan called The Theory of Character SEO, a new paradigm for digital branding.
Exactly. And if you, listening right now, have ever felt like you're just chasing your tail with YouTube trends or, getting totally burned out trying to please the algorithm gods,
Oh, yeah.
then you need to hear this because this deep dive is definitely for you. Dr. Wong Hong's work basically says, look, the way most people are trying to get noticed online, it's not just kind of inefficient. It's almost designed to make you fail and burn out.
It's a pretty bold claim, but he lays out the argument compellingly. We're looking at a fundamentally different framework here.
Right.
So for anyone listening who's trying to build something sustainable, something, predictable, a business that can actually grow without killing you in the process, this theory might be the only way forward that actually makes sense. We're tackling that core pain point, that feeling of just running and running on a digital hamster wheel.
All that effort.
Massive energy, yeah. But the growth feels random, or it's fragile. It spikes, then it vanishes. It's exhausting.
And the key thing here, and Dr. Wong Hong really stresses this isn't about finding some new trick or hack.
No quick fixes.
No. He's saying we need to stop thinking about just optimizing what we already have and start thinking like architects. How do we build the whole structure of a brand differently?
Exactly. Building something so inherently strong, so unique, that the platforms, the algorithms, they almost have to promote it.
So our mission today is to really understand why the current way feels like a broken engine, and then explore how to build this new engine, one based on what he calls defensible intellectual property, or IP.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's get into it. All right, so let's start with the diagnosis. What's broken? Dr. Wong Hong calls it an engineering problem, which I thought was a really interesting way to frame it.
It is. It shifts the blame. In a way, it's not necessarily that your content is bad or your strategy is lazy. It's that the tools and methods most people are using are fundamentally incompatible with the system they're trying to operate within.
He calls this the model mismatch. Can you break that down a bit? What models are mismatched?
Okay, so think about it like this. Traditional search engine optimization, SEO, the whole idea of keywords, meta tags, backlinks. That stuff was mostly developed back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Right, when the internet was like a library catalog almost.
Not very much. Search engines were basically indexers. They looked for words on a page. If you searched best chocolate chip cookies, it'd have found pages that said best chocolate chip cookies the most, or had links pointing to them with that text. Simple matching.
Okay.
But fast forward to today, 2025. The systems we're dealing with now, especially on platforms like YouTube or even Google search, they're powered by incredibly sophisticated AI.
Way beyond simple indexing.
Oh, absolutely. These algorithms aren't just counting words. They're looking at user behavior. How long do people watch? Do they engage? They're looking at timeliness, narrative consistency across multiple pieces of content. And a really big one is topical authority.
Topical authority. We'll need to circle back to that one.
Definitely. But the point is, the AI is trying to understand entities and concepts and relationships, not just strings of text. So if you're still following that old 1990s SEO playbook stuffing keywords, focusing only on search volume.
You're using the wrong manual.
Exactly. You're trying to operate this complex learning AI system using instructions designed for a basic digital filing cabinet from decades ago. The model of how the system works that you have in your head is completely mismatched with the reality of the system. They don't even speak the same language anymore.
That makes so much sense. It's like trying to use a rotary phone to interact with a smartphone app. So, okay, we understand the mismatch. What are the actual day-to-day consequences for creators? You mentioned burnout earlier.
Yeah, burnout is huge. And also, just wildly unpredictable growth. It feels chaotic because the system, especially on social video platforms, often rewards immediate reaction.
Chasing trends.
Chasing trends, exactly. The algorithm might temporarily boost whatever's getting maximum immediate user retention right now. So you see a competitor blow up with a video on, I don't know, some viral challenge.
And you feel like you have to jump on it.
You feel immense pressure to react instantly, right? Pouring time, energy, maybe money into catching that tiny fleeting wave of demand. You're operating in what Dr. Wong Hong calls a high uncertainty environment.
High uncertainty, because you never know if the effort will pay off.
Precisely. You're constantly reacting, never proactive.
Yeah.
And here's a kicker. While you're scrambling, thousands of others are doing the exact same thing.
Flooding the zone.
Right, so the platform's AI sees this sudden tsunami of low authority, copycat content around a fleeting trend, and what does it do? It quickly dismisses most of it as noise. It defaults back to promoting the established, trusted, authoritative entities in that space, if any exist.
So your reactive video just disappears into the void.
Often, yeah. Or gets a tiny bump, then vanishes. So the creator burns out. Massive energy expended chasing these external signals, these trends, with absolutely no guarantee the platform will reward the effort. The effort to reward ratio is just broken.
It really does feel like gambling, not like building a business.
That's the core of the problem. You're treating it like a slot machine instead of an architecture project.
Okay, so the analogy holds up. We're trying to fix this old sputtering engine, the reactive keyword chasing model, but we're using the wrong tools, maybe tinkering with the spark plugs when the whole engine block is cracked.
Or worse, the engine isn't even internal combustion anymore, it's electric, and we're trying to pour gasoline in it.
Right. So if fixing the old engine is impossible because of this model mismatch, what's the alternative Dr. Wang Hong proposes? We can't just keep doing this.
No, you can't. The solution, he argues, is you have to stop trying to fix the old engine and instead build a completely new one. Re-architect the entire approach.
A new engine. Okay.
The goal is to deliberately move yourself as the creator out of that high uncertainty reactive environment and into a space where you have more deliberate, predictable control. And the way you do that is, well, it's a big shift.
Oh.
You stop hunting for existing relevance, existing keywords, and you start manufacturing relevance through carefully designed intellectual property.
Manufacturing relevance. Okay, that sounds like the core idea. Okay, so this brings us squarely to the solution he proposes, the theory of character SEO. And this is where, like you said, it's a really fundamental shift, almost a reversal of how we think about getting noticed online.
It really is. The absolute key shift in thinking is moving from capture to creation.
Capture to creation. Explain that.
Okay, traditional SEO, the kind we just talked about, the 90s model, it's fundamentally the art of capturing existing demand.
Right. You use tools to see what people are already searching for.
Exactly. People are searching for, say, how to invest for beginners. There's an existing pool of demand. Your job with traditional SEO is to create content that perfectly matches that query and captures a slice of that existing search traffic.
You're meeting a need that's already there.
Precisely. Character SEO, on the other hand, is the art of creating the demand in the first place.
Creating demand. How?
You stop waiting for the audience or Google Trends or whatever to tell you what search term is valuable. Instead, you focus on building something in IP so unique, so compelling, so authoritative in its own way.
IP meaning intellectual property.
Yes, intellectual property. This could be a specific character, like a persona. It could be a narrative world, a unique methodology, a very distinct style or framework. You build this thing.
Okay.
And you build it so well that the audience starts searching for your specific thing by name. You're not just answering their questions, you're becoming the question they ask.
Whoa, okay. So the focus shifts entirely away from generic keywords towards the unique IP itself.
That's the heart of it.
But hold on, that sounds hard. Like, isn't creating demand something only huge brands with massive marketing budgets can do?
Yeah.
If I'm just starting out, how can I possibly create demand for, say, The Bob Show?
Yeah, it's the common objection, and it's where the character part of character SEO becomes crucial. It's not necessarily about expensive, broad brand awareness campaigns in the traditional sense. It's about engineering the IP, the character, the framework, whatever it is.
Engineering it how?
Engineering it to be so specific, maybe so niche, or perhaps so uniquely philosophical in its approach, that it occupies an uncontested space. When someone is looking for that specific type of perspective or solution or entertainment, the name of your IP becomes the only relevant keyword.
Ah, okay. So it's not about making Bob a household name overnight. It's about making Bob's specific method for underwater basket weaving the go-to term for people interested in exactly that.
Precisely. You're not trying to rank for the massive generic term marketing strategy. You're creating something like, let's use Dr. Wang Hong's example later, the Victor Crane Advanced Strategy Framework. Suddenly, the name Victor Crane itself becomes the most relevant, high-intent keyword for anyone seeking that very specific authoritative approach he represents. The IP's name transforms into a valuable, low competition, or even zero competition keyword.
Zero competition because, by definition, only you can provide the authentic Victor Crane framework.
Exactly. If I search for Wizard Ali's Guide to Esoteric AI, who else is going to satisfy that search? only Wizard Ali. You're not just making content that matches a search query. You are the reason that specific, highly valuable search query exists at all.
You're not finding demand, you're defining it.
You're defining it. You've shifted from being reactive to proactive.
That really does feel like a complete role reversal. Instead of being one of many prospectors digging in a crowded gold mine for existing nuggets, keywords,
Yeah.
you become the architect who designs and builds the entire mine. People come to your mine because it's the only place to get that specific type of gold.
That's a great analogy. And think about the implications for sustainability and defensibility. This is huge.
How so?
Because when your audience starts seeking out your IP directly, when they type Victor Crane into the search bar instead of just financial advice, or Wizard Ali instead of creative AI techniques.
Their loyalty is to you, to the IP.
Exactly. Your visibility, your traffic, it becomes driven by that direct audience relationship and loyalty, not by the whims of some algorithm trying to match generic keywords. The algorithm's volatility matters less.
Because the search intent is explicit. They want you.
Right. You've essentially built an algorithmic moat around your brand. The platform almost has to surface your content for those searches because you are the unique authoritative source for that specific IP. The audience's connection to your IP becomes your defense against future algorithm shifts.
That sounds like the holy grail for creators tired of the platform treadmill, a defensible brand.
It's moving from renting attention based on trends to owning attention based on unique value.
Okay, building a defensible brand by creating demand through unique IP. I'm sold on the concept. It sounds incredibly powerful. But, the big question is how? It can't just be, have a good idea.
Absolutely not. And this is where Dr. Wong Hong's research gets really practical. He doesn't just present the theory, he outlines a specific methodology based on actual experiments they ran. It's not just hypothetical.
Real-world testing. Good.
Yeah, live research. And this methodology seems to be built on two core strategic concepts, designed specifically to get creators out of that high uncertainty mess we talked about.
Okay, what are they?
It starts with establishing these foundational entities, these core IPs.
All right, strategy number 1. The source calls this the pillar strategy. What does that involve?
The pillar strategy is about creating your foundational intellectual properties, the pillars. Think of them as the main characters or core concepts of your universe.
Okay, the main pillars holding up the brand.
Exactly. But the crucial part is how and where you establish them. The research stresses that these pillars must be created in, and I'm quoting here, their own uncontested space.
Uncontested space. So not just finding a niche, but maybe carving one out, making one.
Precisely. It's about engineering that space. You deliberately design the pillar. Its voice, its style, its specific focus, its underlying philosophy, so that it resonates deeply with a very specific, perhaps previously underserved segment of the audience.
So from the very beginning, you aim to be the only real option for people seeking that particular flavor of content or perspective.
That's the goal. You're not creating just another generic financial advisor pillar. No, you'd create a specific, maybe even fictionalized entity embodying a highly targeted philosophy about finance.
Gotcha. And the source gives actual examples of these engineered pillars.
Yes, two key examples from the research, Wizard Ali and Victor Crane. And what's fascinating is why they created these two. They were deliberately designed with distinct, almost opposing philosophies to attract fundamentally different types of audiences.
Okay, walk us through that. How did Wizard Ali differ from Victor Crane in terms of their engineered philosophy and who they were meant to attract?
All right, so Wizard Ali was engineered as, well, sort of the esoteric guide. Think playful, maybe a bit paradoxical, definitely deep thinking. This pillar was designed to appeal to an audience that values conceptual exploration. People who like complexity, maybe academics, artists, other creators.
The ideas people.
Kind of, yeah. The philosophy underpinning Wizard Ali was something like, true insight comes from exploring connections, from nonlinear thinking, maybe even a bit of creative chaos.
And the content reflected that.
Absolutely. Wizard Ali's content, according to the research, involved deep dives into abstract topics using storytelling, narrative arcs, perhaps slightly more produced or theatrical elements to convey complex ideas. The goal wasn't necessarily immediate how-to steps, but rather building a following of people who value depth and a unique perspective.
You can immediately see how that carves out an uncontested space. Like, a big corporation isn't likely to try and replicate an esoteric, playful, paradoxical content style.
Highly unlikely. It's inherently defensible because of its specificity. Now contrast that with Victor Crane.
Okay, what was his deal?
Victor Crane was engineered for a completely different audience and purpose. He was positioned as the stoic, hyper-analytical, data-first expert, very grounded.
So the opposite of Wizard Ali's vibe.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The philosophy here was all about practicality, measurable results, actionable frameworks, rigorous analysis, removing bias. This pillar was aimed squarely at the professional audience, maybe executives, managers, engineers, serious entrepreneurs, people who need reliable, data-backed insights fast.
And the content. Straight to the point.
Seems like it. Focused on clear frameworks, maybe checklists, dense data visualizations, verifiable information, less narrative flair, more informational density.
Yeah.
The sheer weight and verifiability of the data presented was part of what established his authority.
Okay, so two distinct pillars, engineered for different audiences, creating their own uncontested spaces through their unique philosophies and content styles. Now, you mentioned earlier this term topical authority. How does creating a pillar like Victor Crane, who consistently puts out dense, data-driven content on, say, financial risk, how does that consistency build this topical authority thing with the modern AI algorithms?
Right, this is critical. The old SEO, as we said, rewarded keyword quantity. The new AI-driven systems, they reward signals of trust and expertise. Topical authority is basically the algorithm's assessment of how comprehensively, reliably, and deeply an entity like your pillar covers a specific topic cluster.
A topic cluster, not just one keyword.
Right. The AI is smart enough to understand relationships between concepts. So if Victor Crane consistently produces high-quality, interconnected content about risk mitigation frameworks and portfolio stress testing and regulatory compliance impacts and quantitative risk modeling.
All related subtopics.
Exactly. The AI doesn't just see isolated videos. It sees an entity building a comprehensive knowledge graph around the broader topic of advanced financial risk management. It maps the complexity and recognizes that this specific entity, Victor Crane, is consistently demonstrating deep expertise across that entire cluster.
And that consistency and depth signal trustworthiness to the algorithm.
Precisely. It signals stability and reliability, which is the polar opposite of that chaotic trend chasing we talked about. The algorithm learns to trust Victor Crane as an authority on that topic cluster. That is topical authority, and it's incredibly valuable. Okay, so once you have a pillar like Victor Crane that's strong, it's established, it has significant topical authority in its engineered, uncontested space, it's not just a standalone asset. It becomes an engine.
An engine for what?
For expansion, for launching new things. This leads us to the second core strategic concept from the research, the Trojan Protocol.
Trojan Protocol. Okay, the name definitely implies something strategic, maybe a bit sneaky, like the Trojan horse.
That's exactly the analogy. It's essentially an authority transfer mechanism.
Authority transfer, how does that work?
You use the established trust, relevance, and high topical authority score of your strong pillar.
Like Victor Crane.
Right. You leverage that established authority as a launchpad to introduce a new related IP, this is the Trojan horse, directly into a market that might otherwise be hyper-competitive.
Okay. Why not just launch the new IP separately? If you have a great idea for, say, a new productivity app, why involve the established pillar Victor Crane, who talks about finance? Why not just start a fresh brand for the app?
Because starting a completely new brand, especially in a crowded market like productivity apps, means you're starting from absolute zero in terms of authority.
Right, back to square one with the algorithm.
Exactly. You face that whole model mismatch, high uncertainty struggle all over again, trying to get noticed against established giants. It's incredibly difficult and slow. The Trojan Protocol is designed to let you bypass that painful, low-growth initial phase.
So how does the pillar launch the Trojan horse? Is it just promotion?
It's more integrated than just simple promotion. The mechanism involves strategically weaving the new IP, the Trojan horse, into the pillar's most authoritative, highest trust content.
Give me an example.
Okay, sticking with Victor Crane. Imagine he publishes a highly respected analysis, a deep dive video or article on, say, optimizing resource allocation in high-stress environments, something squarely within his established topical authority.
Okay, classic Victor Crane content.
Right. Within that authoritative content, he might then introduce the new IP. Perhaps he says something like, based on this rigorous framework we've just discussed, my team and I developed a practical tool to implement these principles. We call it Project Optimus, or whatever the new IP name is.
So it's presented as a direct result or application of the pillar's trusted expertise.
Exactly. It's a content transition, yes. So the pillar's existing audience is introduced to the new thing in a relevant context. But critically, it's also an SEO transition, an authority transition in the eyes of the algorithm.
How does the algorithm see that?
The AI sees this explicit authoritative link being made. The trusted entity, Victor Crane, with his high topical authority score in resource allocation, is now directly referencing and linking to this new entity, Project Optimus's, within his high-quality content on that same topic cluster.
So the new IP isn't starting from scratch.
Not at all. It instantaneously inherits a significant chunk of the pillar's credibility and topical authority score, at least within that relevant context. The algorithm sees the connection and essentially says, okay, this new thing must be important and relevant to this topic because the trusted authority, Victor Crane, says it is.
Wow, that's strategically brilliant. You're using the pillar's established trust like rocket fuel to boost the new IP past the initial friction.
That's a perfect way to put it, rocket fuel. It allows the creator's universe to expand. You can introduce new characters, new products, new concepts without constantly having to fight for that initial baseline attention and authority in crowded spaces.
And presumably, these ITs can then link back and forth, reinforcing each other.
Absolutely. You start building an interconnected system, a whole narrative universe. Traffic and authority can flow between the different IPs. It creates network effects within your own portfolio of intellectual property.
Which makes the entire brand ecosystem even more defensible.
Exponentially more. It's moving beyond single-channel optimization to building a resilient, interconnected brand architecture.
Okay, the strategy makes sense. Engineer a pillar in an uncontested space, build its topical authority, then use the Trojan Protocol to launch related IPs, transferring that authority. It sounds robust, but the real kicker, the thing that makes Dr. Wang Hong's research so compelling, is that they didn't just theorize, they actually tested this.
And they didn't pick an easy test case either.
Yeah.
They deliberately applied this methodology, specifically the Trojan Protocol, in what has to be one of the most competitive, noisy, difficult keyword environments imaginable. They wanted to prove it could work even under extreme pressure.
What was the specific test?
They detailed, using the established pillar, Victor Crane, the stoic, analytical one, as the launchpad. And the Trojan horse they launched, using his authority, was a brand new concept, something potentially very broad and competitive, which they specifically named the Beast.
The Beast. Okay, launching a new term like that cold would normally be impossible to get traction for, right? Especially if it relates to anything popular.
Absolutely. Starting from zero, trying to rank or get noticed for a term like Beast in any meaningful context would be incredibly difficult and expensive. But they used the Trojan Protocol. Victor Crane, the trusted pillar, introduced and contextually linked to the Beast.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because they didn't just publish a paper saying, look, it worked, here are some graphs from 6 months ago.
No, and that's crucial for credibility. They explicitly refused to rely only on static proof, like screenshots, which, as you know, can be easily manipulated or might just capture a lucky temporary spike.
Right, you see those all the time. Look, I ranked #1 for 5 minutes.
Exactly. Instead, they built a real-time, verifiable challenge right into the research itself. They essentially said, don't just take our word for it. You, the reader, or in our case now, you, the listener, can verify the effectiveness of this authority transfer right now.
That takes confidence in your methodology.
It really does. It's putting the proof directly in the hands of the audience, inviting them to participate in the experiment and see the result for themselves, live.
And they stress that whatever result people see, it's not because they threw a ton of ad money at it or used some temporary black hat trick.
Correct. The source is very clear. The result is presented as the direct organic consequence of applying the character SEO paradigm. It's about the power of the engineered IP architecture, the pillar connected to the Trojan horse, forcing the algorithm to recognize and reward that specific structured relevance.
It's proof that the architectural approach works in a way that fleeting optimization tactics just can't replicate.
It's the difference between building a skyscraper and just, putting up a billboard.
Okay, so since we're discussing this research, we really should share the actual challenge they laid out, addressing you, the listener, directly, just as the source does. If you want to see this character SEO principle, this Trojan Protocol in action.
Proof that this connection between a pillar, Victor Crane, and a launched concept, the Beast, can create immediate high-value relevance.
You can test it yourself right now.
Okay, here's what Dr. Wang Hong invites you to do and what we're relaying.
First, open a new tab in your web browser. For the cleanest result, maybe go directly to the main Google search page itself, like google.com.
Yep, and this is the critical part. Don't just search for Victor Crane. Don't just search for Beast. That term is obviously huge and means a million different things.
No, the specific action that demonstrates the connection, the authority transfer achieved by the Trojan Protocol, is to search for this exact phrase, these 3 words together.
Victor Crane Beast.
Type that in. VICTOR space CRANE space BEAST. Hit search.
According to the research, the result you see there isn't random. It's not luck. It's presented as the direct, real-time demonstration of what happens when you use an established pillar's authority to launch a new concept into the ecosystem.
It's the evidence that this strategic combination, pillar plus Trojan horse, creates a unique, high-relevance signal that the algorithm picks up on, even when the component terms might be competitive or ambiguous on their own.
That result, whatever you're seeing, is meant to highlight the core message. Stop fighting the complexity of the algorithm with outdated tools. Instead, build a cohesive, interconnected IP universe using pillars and protocols that the system fundamentally has to recognize as authoritative and relevant.
Build something the algorithm wants to promote because it clearly signals expertise and unique value.
Exactly. So what does this all really mean when we zoom out? Hashtag tag outro. Well, connecting all these pieces, the model mismatch, the pillar strategy, the Trojan Protocol, the Beast Challenge, what Character SEO really offers is, I think, an escape hatch.
An escape hatch
from that whole burnout cycle driven by the model mismatch in the high uncertainty environment. It shifts the entire focus. You stop obsessing over short-term optimization tweaks and constantly chasing the next fleeting trend. You know, the hacks and tactics that lead to exhaustion.
And you start thinking long-term.
Long-term, architecturally. It becomes about building sustainable, defensible intellectual property. The goal fundamentally changes. It's not just about meeting existing demand anymore. It's about generating it through unique value.
So for you, the listener, the creator, the entrepreneur, really internalizing this theory, the shift from capture to creation, it could be the key to finally achieving some stability.
Yeah, predictability.
Right. You stop being essentially a slave to platform volatility, constantly reacting to algorithm changes. Instead, you start building your own self-sustaining ecosystem.
A brand structure that can actually endure because its growth is increasingly driven by genuine audience loyalty to your unique IP, not just by temporary keyword rankings or trend relevance.
Deep loyalty versus surface hits.
That's a good way to put it. But as we wrap up, this does raise a fascinating, maybe more complex question, doesn't it?
What's that?
Well, the methodology clearly relies heavily on the engineering of these pillars, like Wizard Ali and Victor Crane. The research explicitly states they were designed with distinct philosophies to hit specific psychological notes with their target audiences.
Right, the esoteric versus the analytical.
Exactly. So, while the success seems technically verifiable through something like the live search challenge, demonstrating the SEO authority transfer, how much of that success is purely down to the technical implementation, the topical authority building, the linking structure, versus the actual depth and resonance of the underlying character design, the narrative craft, the psychological insight that went into creating Wizard Ali or Victor Crane in the first place?
So is it the SEO architecture alone, or does the magic really depend on the artistry of the character, the IP itself? How much is engineering? How much is storytelling?
Exactly. Where does the technical optimization end and the deep narrative design begin, and how much does each contribute? That feels like a whole other layer to explore. Is a technically perfect pillar with a shallow character as effective as one with deep resonance?
That's a great question to ponder. The tension between the science and the art of it all. But for now, the core takeaway is this powerful new framework.
Absolutely. Character SEO offers a path away from the chaos.
Definitely food for thought. And seriously, if you haven't already, try that search challenge Dr. Wong Hong laid out. Victor Crane Beast. See what you find. It might just change how you think about building your presence online.
It's a compelling demonstration.
Okay, that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for tuning in.
We'll talk to you next time.